What if I told you the child star who defined Christmas movies has stories behind the scenes that are just as dramatic as what we saw on screen? Macaulay Culkin, the face of Home Alone and Uncle Buck, has finally opened up about moments that shaped his childhood. Some heartwarming, some shocking, and some worth millions. From the way John Candy protected him on set, to Joe Pesci accidentally biting him hard enough to leave a scar, to the incredible contract deal that made Culkin one of the richest kids in Hollywood, his story is full of surprises. These aren't rumors, they're real memories that paint a picture of how tough and extraordinary growing up in Hollywood really was. Let's start with Uncle Buck. Culkin was only 8 when he worked with comedy legend John Candy, and he remembers Candy as more than just a co-star. He was like a protective father figure. Culkin says Candy treated him with unusual respect, making sure the child actor felt seen and valued on set. But Candy may have also noticed something darker. At the time, Culkin's real father had already developed a reputation for being extremely difficult. Culkin now admits Candy quietly kept an eye on him, checking in with questions like, "You doing good? Everything all right at home?" That gentle concern stayed with Culkin forever, and he calls it proof of the kind paternal man John Candy really was. But while Candy offered comfort, Joe Pesci gave Culkin an unforgettable scar. During Home Alone, the now famous scene where Harry threatens Kevin's fingers went a little too far in rehearsal. Pesci wanted to scare Culkin for real, and he did. Instead of pretending, Pesci actually bit down on Culkin's hand, hard enough to leave a permanent scar. Culkin remembers the pain, but laughs at Pesci's reaction. The usually tough, mobster-style actor looked horrified, blurting out, "I just bit a kid." Culkin says it was the only time he ever saw Joe Pesci truly scared. That tiny scar is still with him today, a reminder of Hollywood's not-so-movie magic moments. Of course, Culkin's story isn't only about difficult memories, it's also about groundbreaking success. By the time he filmed Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, Culkin wasn't just a child star, he was a child millionaire. Thanks to a special clause in his contract, he earned 5% of the movie's box office, on top of his $3.9 million salary. That deal alone gave him nearly $18 million. Adjusted for today's money, it's closer to $40 million. At just 12 years old, Culkin became one of Hollywood's wealthiest actors, and his Home Alone role turned into a financial empire, proving that sometimes kids really can outsmart the adults, both in movies and in contracts. Then today, Culkin's impact is celebrated by his co-stars. Catherine O'Hara, who played his mom, broke down during his Walk of Fame ceremony, admitting that one of her lines in Home Alone was heartbreaking to deliver. When Kevin shouts he never wants to see his family again, her scripted reply, warning him it could come true, was painful for her to say to such a sweet child. Looking back, she praised Culkin's natural humor and intelligence, calling him the reason Home Alone remains a global holiday tradition. From Candy's kindness to Pesci's accident, from record-breaking paychecks to lasting scars, Macaulay Culkin's behind-the-scenes story is just as unforgettable as the films themselves. But Culkin himself has also reflected on what those years meant, and his perspective today shows real growth. Despite the fame, fortune, and difficult family dynamics, he says he's finally living life on his own terms. Now in his 40s, Culkin is a father of 2 boys with fiancée Brenda Song, and he's found peace away from the chaos of child stardom. he still honors the people who supported him. From John Candy's quiet protection to Catherine O'Hara's warmth that made her feel like a second mom, fans who grew up watching him every holiday season now see a man who has turned childhood challenges into resilience. And while he carries a few scars, both emotional and physical, Culkin has become an icon whose legacy continues to connect generations. His story reminds us that sometimes the toughest beginnings can lead to the most enduring impact.